And once more, we got some stuff to figure out. First, so we got rejected. Gonna figure this out. First, let's share that we're here, that we're trying to make things happen. Let's see if I can get the link. All right. Sure, we will do that. And should have already posted something on Twitter so people can start jumping in here because we got to figure this out. What is even going on here? So I've been, just to get people kind of caught up a little bit, those that are jumping in, I've been working on a new app called Stoke Fire. And it's a mobile game that I'm creating. And it's a fun project. We're going to have fun with this, really trying something new here. And I feel like I'm going to have to say this every time. Like every time I'm streaming, I'm just going to be saying the same thing. And so if you are here a lot, you're going to be like, you already talked about this before. But I just have to keep repeating myself because probably a lot of people aren't seeing the little bits and pieces, or they maybe just see a piece of the live stream. So I'm just going to have to say the same thing and repeat again. And I'll probably even have to repeat what I just said right now again, which means I'll repeat that again. So it's kind of like Inception, isn't it? Okay, so yes, I've been working on this new app, Stoke Fire. It's a game. I just kind of started it in the last week. And it's an on-chain game. So we're trying to do something kind of interesting on-chain, building a game on the blockchain. People have done this, but it's never completely worked out. There's nothing that's kind of stood the test of time. So I'm trying to make a model that could work for a longer period of time. And it's going to be fun. I'm trying to get a first version out there as quick as possible. So I have some people that can test it out, give some feedback so I can just learn and iterate quickly. And so I'm trying to use TestFlight on Apple iOS to get some people trying this out as quickly as possible. And the app is very rough right now. And that's why, it's probably gonna be hard for me to get through the Apple review. And just with the whole sign up process to create an account and start trying it out. And so all I did was I just submitted the app to TestFlight and we did get rejected. I feel like with TestFlight, it should be more, there almost should be different rules because it's for TestFlight, it's we're just trying to test this thing, man. I just have a couple people I want to test this app out, but we're already worrying, early in the stage, we're already worrying about very, either complex or just very sophisticated things, trying to make this work. So here's the rejection right here. Basically what they didn't like is that when you sign in to the app, you're required to sign in with Farcaster. Farcaster is kind of like a Twitter app, if you're not familiar. And basically, you already have a Farcaster account, and I'm just using the sign in with Farcaster kind of feature to sign into the app so you can jump in. And they did not like that. So that's one of the things. They also kind of say that I have to be able to delete an account, which in some ways is kind of impossible because at the end of the day, you're creating data that's on the blockchain that lives there forever. So I can't really just delete that. I probably could delete, I don't know, part of your account, maybe the local stuff. So I could probably do something like that. But yeah, so that's another problem. I knew, just with building anything crypto, that actually creating a mobile app and adding that to the app store, this would be a hard process of how do you get through the review process because they're kind of stringent on different rules, different things. And so this is definitely going to be a challenge, but we got to figure this out. We got to get through this with the Apple review process. So it's definitely going to be like a challenge to get past it, but I think we can do it. I think, there's other apps and crypto apps that have kind of gotten through, and there's even ones that are built on top of Farcaster that have already kind of made it through this process. And so it's just going to take time. And one of the things I'm thinking about is like, how can I kick this problem down the road, like kick the can down the road with this? Because it's just going to be, it's just like, there's more to build that will take some time to just like get the sign up flow working well. And I just don't know if it's worth it to do all that right now. And so it's like, if I could get some users testing this in a different way, then maybe that could make sense. One of the ways I'm thinking is, so with Test Flight, you can not go through the app review process if the people that you're adding to test it out are on your team. So that might be something I might do if I have some testers who are like, hey, I'll just add you to like my Apple team so that you can test this out. And that would be kind of a way to get started here. If you have any ideas, feel free to write something in the chat. Or if you have any questions about what I'm doing, feel free. But so I think that could be my first step. The other thing I'm thinking about, so I've talked to some other builders that have gotten through this process, and kind of what they use is, I guess, what do you call this? Kind of like a key pair kind of data, remote data. So it's, it's kind of like you're storing data on the back end, where once you start your review process, you kind of turn that flag on. So you kind of have like a flag on that's like, yep, you're through the review process, and you can almost kind of change your sign up flow based on that. And then once you succeed, you kind of turn it back off. So it's like, it's like there's kind of like little tricks and things you can do to try to make the flow like easier for the Apple reviewer and tester. So like I could use this Versal KV, was that key values, to maybe do something like that. I haven't seen this service before with Versal. Versal has they have so many different products now. They just do so much. Like they're trying to like do the whole stack. They're trying to like build everything. So that's like one of the ideas, is to kind of just make it very simple to have like almost like a different state for the Apple reviewer when they're doing this, so that you can just like build the app to like satisfy their needs a little better. And kind of what that would look like is I could just like make a dummy account that's like just the Apple reviewer account. And when I have that flag on that it's like in review, it's just like you just sign, the app just like logs into that dummy account automatically, and it's like they can start testing it out, and they don't have to like go through this whole like Farcaster sign in process that would be annoying. The other thing I could maybe do is these updates. Hey, Big Papa. Who's Big Papa? So I'm using Expo for the mobile app, and Expo allows you to, like build with JavaScript, TypeScript, more like web frameworks. And then it builds down to iOS. And Expo has this really cool feature where you can do updates, like, and this is going to be really big for like just iterating quickly and like building the app quickly and just like making changes and not having to go through the Apple review process every time. Because in a normal iOS app, it's like every time you make a line change, you fix a bug, you do anything, you have to go back through the review process to actually get that through. Where with Expo updates, I can just remotely push a new update and it just kind of updates the app, and I don't have to go through the whole. So this is going to be huge. Like, how can I use this to my benefit? So maybe the first thing we can do is just like kind of test this out, because I was trying to set this up, these Expo updates, yesterday. So that was one of the things I was kind of finishing up working on. And so maybe we can just like see if I can like push a new update. That would be pretty cool, because that could be a first step to this, is like you kind of like build a version for Apple that they're happy with, that goes, and if like, I don't know, as you're updating the app, you kind of don't have to worry as much if you can do these updates, that you can add different features and things. So I don't know. I'm just trying to figure out ways that I can be ready for this process in the future, because it's definitely like a problem that I'm going to have to figure out and be ready for if I'm building an iOS app, which I am. So, okay, so let's see what we can start with. So this is the mobile app here, and we have this login screen, and it looks like this. So this is, it's all very not great looking. This is all, like just kind of testing, getting things started. But that's like what the login currently looks like for this email and stuff. And I already just made a build. So I have a build, and I added updates for Expo. And what that looks like is if I go to, I think it's the app.json maybe. Yeah, updates. So this is kind of part of the installation of adding the updates. And so that's set up there. I also made it so that if we go to your accounts, there's this update app button. And this makes it so that when you're actually in the app, this button will only show up if there's a new update. So it does a check here, check for updates async. If the update's available, then we kind of set this Boolean on so that we can then show users this button to update to the latest version, and then they can just click to the latest version. So it's kind of cool how that works. And I want to test this. I want to see how this works. So let's like make a little change. Like one of the things, this login thing, it was like a template I kind of downloaded. So I don't really need any of this other login stuff. I really just want the email login. And this is mostly for like testing purposes. So I think I'm just going to like remove that stuff, and then we'll just see if we can make an update. So here's our account code, log out, yada, yada, address. Oh, that's the account stuff. We need login screen. And hopefully this is good, big enough you can see. Hey 50 Cal, good to see you. Okay, so send code. This is basically login with code. All of these. We don't care about any of this stuff. So we're just going to delete it. And we're going to go to tabs. That was like some testing stuff. And so there, boom, we've got it. So you can see here is the update of the app. It's just, it's fast. It just refresh and we're there. So that's good. Let's see if we can add, I guess this doesn't matter. I was going to add like some padding of some sort. So what we can do, we can just go ahead and commit this. Push that. And then we can try the update and see how that works. So I think, yeah, so I was going through the docs earlier. So EAS is the service for Expo that does updates. And so this should be the command that I need. I just have to point it to the right branch, which right now I think is called production. And then I guess you give it like a message. Production. Our message should be test out updating by removing other logins. All right, before I push that though, so I have the app on my phone, and I just want to see like what the state of it is right here. Maybe you can see this better if I do this. So, yeah, so there's the app. You can see my fire is going right now. I can gather some food. It's not the clearest thing right now. But so how this should work is this is a simple accounts screen right now. And once I push this update, we should see a button right here that's like, hey, update to the latest. I then should be able to click that. And then when we sign out and log in, then we should see that we have this new look. So let's see if this works. I don't know. I haven't used this before. Logging in, yada, yada. Ooh, it's doing a build. Exporting. Oh, it's doing all kinds of stuff. Uploading. And whoa, there we go, maybe. So I think we can go to this link here and we can see what the status of this update is. See what's going on here. Okay. So looks like that's our update. How do we know when it's live? What's this preview? Don't know what that is. This is the, oh, so test, yep. Okay, so this is our updates. So is it published, I guess? Maybe. It kind of looks like there's nothing that's making me think. So those are deployments and builds. There's nothing that's making me think it's like waiting for it to happen. We can go here. Okay, so this was like my last build. Then I did an update. So this is like our status. So it seems like we might be good to give this a try. I don't know. But we'll just see. So right now I'm basically just gonna reopen the app and see if we see our button, because that would be cool. That would be what we'd want. Oh, look at that. If you can see it, there's now another button there that says update to the latest version. So we're going to click that. And then, oh, it just restarted. It just restarted the app. So we're back to the main screen. So I think that means we downloaded the update. Now I'm going to go and log out. And then, ooh, this is, I didn't think about this. So basically I have it so that when you're in developer environment, it has this, oh, you can't see my screen. When you're in developer environment, you log in with email. But when you're actually on a phone, it will log in with Farcaster. And so right now, it's not even going to show that screen because we're on our app. But I think it worked. It looked like it worked. I think we were able to do our update correctly, which is cool. So that's pretty sweet. That is a very awesome system that you can just update remotely. It basically makes mobile app development similar to web app development. I mean, that's the amazing thing about web apps is you can just like push code to your website and it's just live. It's just there. It just works. And with iOS apps, it's like you got to do the builds, you got to do all that. But with Expo, you can just push an update just like that. So that's pretty sweet. That's definitely going to be helpful as we go forward, trying to iterate quickly. It really helps us to iterate fast. All right, so I'm trying to think what should be my next thing to kind of focus on here, because I think I'm gonna hopefully kick that can down the road with this being rejected. Because there's a couple things I'm gonna need to do here. I'm gonna need, just thinking about. I think the best way would be if I used, key value pair to kind of set when a build is in review. And then, so when I submit, I then set that on. But how do you, the question is, how do I make it so that it's not just signing everyone into a dummy count? Like in the future, like when I'm just testing, like that's probably fine. I only have a couple people testing it out and trying this out. But in the future, it might be something where it's like people can't really sign in new accounts. It's like they're either signed in or they're, I have to think about that. It's like when you change the flag to be on that you're in review, it automatically would sign new people into a dummy account, which would be kind of a weird state for if anyone downloaded the app at that time and was trying it out for the first time. That would be kind of a bad experience. So I'm not sure what the best path for that is. I might have to have some kind of extra sign in where it's like, because part of the main thing is I only want people to, at least in the beginning, I only want people to be able to sign in with Farcaster. I want them to have a Farcaster account. It kind of shows that they're native to Farcaster, kind of helps to limit like bots or people like creating spam accounts. And so that's kind of the plan. The idea with that is just like require them to be Farcaster. Maybe I could have like a email sign in as well. But only let the reviewer successfully sign in with email, something like that. And then once they sign in with their email, I show them their dummy account. There could be that could be an option potentially. Because the problem is like the Apple reviewer does not have a Farcaster account, and they kind of don't want to be required to have that. So it's kind of the problem. So, I guess I'm going to have to kick that problem down the road a little bit. But there's a lot of things that we still can do. And really what I want to focus on right now, I mean, really what you need to focus on is making the game actually fun and like figuring that out, making some decisions about how it's going to work, and then kind of cleaning things up later. Like I think that's the best route to go, and so that's why I'm kind of focusing more on the fundamentals of the game and the app first, and then we can get into some of these other things later. So let's jump over, since we're kicking this down the road a little bit. Don't think it makes sense to focus on right now. Let's jump back to what I was last working on, which was on the smart contracts. So you jump over to the smart contracts. If you're on one of the earlier streams, earlier we were working on this function where, maybe I'll explain this a little bit. So every couple days, you need to stoke your fire, and that, it keeps the village warm. It's kind of like the gaming. It's like the loop. It's like the gaming loop. Oh, you can't see my screen. And so this is the function, stoking the fire. This is on chain. This is smart contracts that people can do. And so this is almost like a checkpoint, is when they stoke the fire, we're then kind of adding some logic to see like, how are they doing? Another thing we recently added was building huts. So you can now build huts. It costs right now, we're saying it costs 10 wood. And then what happens is when you stoke the fire, if you have some empty huts, we then make it so that you can get new villagers. New villagers will join your village. And that's kind of like the goal of the game is you're like trying to grow your village, grow your population. And so this checkpoint at Stoke Fire, when you're stoking the fire, that's when we're going to look and be like, okay, how are you doing? How's your economy? Do you have enough food? Do you have enough wood? Do you have any huts that new villagers can move into your village? And if so, then we're going to add some villagers. So that's what I started working on here. So we're first, and I'll just kind of walk through this just to kind of catch up where I'm at, kind of get you up to speed. And then maybe we have to add some stuff to this. I'm not sure. And then probably need to do some testing around it. Okay, so first we're seeing how much food do we need for stoking. And so I added this helper function, and kind of how this works is this is saved. This is the amount of food you currently have in the village. And how much food you need for stoking. Actually, is this the wrong function? This is the one we want. So how much food you need. Right now, we're just doing 1 per villager. So it's kind of like you also have to keep up with your village. The more villagers you have, the more food you need to feed them, right? Like it, makes sense. So every time you are stoking the fire, we're going to check like how much food does your village require. And so right now we're just saying 1 food per villager. And so we're multiplying that. This is how much food you need. So say you have 10 villagers, you need 10 food to feed your village. And so we calculate that, get the food needed for stoking. We're then going to pass that into calculate how many villagers we want to add. So how many villagers do we want to add? And that's also based on this how much food we need. If our food is less, then what we're actually going to do is we're going to remove some villagers. So that's what we're doing here. We're seeing how much food do you need for stoking, how much food do you have, how much food is missing. So say, you've got 10 villagers, so you need 10 food to feed them, but you only have 5 food in your reserves. So that means you're missing 5 food. And so what we're going to do is basically remove 5 villagers. So you're going to actually lose villagers. So that's where you kind of have to know what you're doing here, and kind of like pay attention to your resources and managing it. Let's see. What's this person saying? Oh, that's nothing to do with this. Just saw someone commenting on Warpcast. And so this in some ways is kind of harsh that we're like removing villagers if you don't have enough food. And I have some ideas for how we could make this better in the future. Like I think having a state where your villagers are starving the first time, and then if your villagers are in a starving state the next time you stoke your fire, then those villagers die and you lose those villagers. And so you're trying to keep your villagers alive. But for now, just because, that's adding extra steps and we want to try to just get a full loop here of the game, we're basically just, your villager is going to die. You're losing villagers right away. And so in this scenario, you don't have 5 food to feed your villagers. And so you're going to lose 5 villagers. And in the UI, I think I'm going to have like basically before you stoke your fire, it's going to show you like, okay, if you stoke your fire, like this is what's going to happen. You're going to lose some villagers, which is sad. Okay, so but if you have enough food for staking, so in that case, we lose some villagers. But if you have enough food, then we go into this else case, and we're going to check how many huts do you have, because you also need to have some empty huts to be able to add new villagers. Okay, so villagers per hut, we're doing 5 right now. So you can have 5 villagers in a hut. And so we see how many huts are full just by how many villagers you have. Divide by 5. So you get 5, if you have 10 villagers, and you've got 2 huts, you'd got 2 full huts then. I need to figure out, I always forget this in Solidity, with division, like what happens. I think you can have some errors. I don't remember. Maybe this is where we go ask ChatGPT. Because yeah, if you have like a odd number, I think it might just throw away the remainder, maybe. I'm not sure. But then, so we'll check that. But so then we see like how many huts do you have minus your full huts. That's how many empty huts you have. And so then I'm thinking, if you have some empty huts, we're then wanting to add some villagers for you. So I think we need to update this. So if you have some empty huts, maybe we could just add 1 villager, or we could add villagers based on how much food you have at this point too. So if you have more food, then you kind of get rewarded for saving up food. So how could we do that? So we'll say leftover food equals minus food needed for Stoke. So this is the amount of food that you have left over. And hey, that's a good idea. Thank you, ChatGPT. So villagers to add. I don't think we necessarily want to add food for each villager. Maybe it's like half of the amount of food or something like that. Because if we just add a ton of extra villagers for every food you have, I think it could get a little complicated. Maybe we divide by half or something. And then, so say you have 10 food left over, you could get 5 new villagers moving in. And I don't think we'll take away your food. So they're not going to eat the food yet. And so then you have some kind of time to prepare for the next Stoke Fire to have enough food for them. That's one idea. Okay, so if I did divide by 2. This is already going to be 1 here. So it's really just dividing by 2. What do we want to remove? An int 256 because it can be negative. So I guess we have to make this. Or we'll just cast it before we send that out. Okay. So I use this client called Typing Mind, and Indie Hacker makes it. It's very cool for interfacing with AI because you can customize things. Right now I'm just using GPT-4. I know there's better versions of AI. At some point on the live stream, I'm gonna test out Cursor because I have not used Cursor yet, and we need to see kind of how that works. And I think it could be helpful. But for right now, I'm just using GPT-4 and Typing Mind here. So I'm gonna just ask. That's what I forget. So, yeah, we do. Obviously, the quotient, I guess the numerator needs to be a bigger number. And which I think it always should be. Let's see. If we're in this, yeah, it always should be because we already do this check here. So we always have more food, leftover food. That should always be bigger. This might not be true. Maybe your leftover food is 1. We'll have to see what happens there too. Okay, but so 7 divided by 3, it just throws away the remainder and you get 2. So is that what we actually want? So say you have 5 food, you divide by 2, and you would get 2. I think that's good. You would basically just get less, which I think is a good thing. And we'll have to do some testing around that too, just to make sure. What if the numerator is larger? What if the numerator is larger than the... No, you're not. It's not what I'm asking. Let's see. Oh, I think I typed it. I just typed it wrong. If the numerator's smaller, we get 0. Okay, that's probably a good outcome, because then we're just going to add 0, and then that's fine. Yeah. Yeah, I think that's good. So then what happens is we get these new number of villagers that we're going to add. Go back here. This can be negative because it can be an int 256. So then we add it to our current amount of villagers and our updated villagers. And so then this is like a check to see if updated villagers is less than 0, then we don't want them to have negative villagers, but they will have 0 villagers now. So we set their villagers to 0 on the blockchain. Otherwise, we're going to set them to the updated villagers. And we know it's positive at that point, so we can cast it. Food need for Stoke, less than 0. So this is where we're actually removing the food that they basically used. It's like they burned this food. So same thing, if it's less than 0, set it 0. If it's not, then we can go ahead and subtract it and update their food. And then right now, we're updating their score based on how much wood they have extra. So this is kind of interesting. There's some strategy around how much wood you should use, because every time you stoke fire, that's when your score is updated based on how much wood you have. I probably should change this to be like based on the number of villagers you have or villagers you add. Maybe that would take that into consideration. I think that could be better, because then it aligns the score and everything with just the whole goal is to grow your village. Okay, so I think we need to update this event. So we already are saving how many villagers we have. I think we need to update food. All right, so then we emit the food as well, so we can update that since we're changing it. We're already updating the villagers, already updating the wood. And later, we're going to have to kind of update all of our event systems to only emit the data that's changing, not the whole state. We're basically just emitting the whole state so that in our indexer, we could just set it there, which isn't the most efficient, but... All right, so we have that. Now, we can do some testing on our Stoke. Let's first jump over here and just tests just to make sure everything's still working. Okay, all of our tests are working, so that's good. And so we want to add a new test for stoking. So we're going to probably copy this because we're going to do a stoke. And we're going to do test stoke villagers updated. And so we kind of have to set this up so that we have a state where we have enough villagers, and then we'll actually add some. So we're going to have to probably, to do this, we're also going to have to, it's going to be kind of crazy with my tests at some point, because as the game goes along and the more actions and things you do, it's like to get to a certain state, you're going to have to basically do tons of actions to get to a specific state to actually test it. And so, yeah, I probably have to have like some setup scripts that are just like running through tons of transactions to like get to a specific state that I want to test at. That will be kind of interesting. It'll take a little bit of work to test all that correctly. Okay, so, but for the time being, we need to be able to build a hut. So let's do this. And this is just chopping wood. So I will put this in front here. So we actually have a hut. So we've chopped wood, we have a hut, and if we look at this test, we're expecting 5 wood left. We're expecting 1 hut. And so then when we stoke fire, we then can have some expectations about how many villagers are we going to have, you know? So I don't care about testing this wood. I don't care about testing those things. Let's see. We'll test villagers. Question is, how many do we think we're going to have? And then we're going to test how much food we have left over. Oh, that's the other thing. We need to actually get some food. So if we go to our resources, we have our gather food. So let's copy that so we can do some food testing, do some chopping wood. We could put this here. So we first start out with 0 villagers. And so if we just do 1 gather food, when we do this, yeah, we get 1 to 4 food in a gather. So we have a hut and we have 1 to 4 food. So based on the amount of food we have, like if we got the 4 food, we could get 2 villagers here because we divide by 2, get 2 villagers, and we should have 2 villagers. If when we get 1 food, then I think we end up getting 0 villagers. And so this will all depend on what this somewhat random number is. It's not really random. It's just based on block hash, block timestamp. And so if we change this, we can basically test exact outcomes. But yeah, so we have to just kind of just run it and just see what happens here. Let's see. I just need to ask. I always forget this command, so I just have it tell me. Why aren't you telling me? What's the command in the command line is what I want to know. Yeah, you can do match path. Let's do config path. Should be. Trying to remember. I always forget. Okay, let's just do forge test. This has match path. Yeah, it's match path, right? And then we do our path is /test/ Stoke facet test. Ooh, spelled that wrong. Okay, build hut, not enough wood. Okay, that makes sense. We need more wood to be able to build our huts. Probably just because of the random number, I would imagine. In some ways, we can't change a random number because some of our other tests are based on that. Like how much wood you get and stuff is based on this random number here. So what we're going to have to do is basically chop more wood. So we do this. We do another chop wood. I have to set the time to 3 days. Then we build because we need 10 wood at least. Oh, I need to do this first. Not village owner. So, gotta have my user call probably the Stoke. That's probably the problem. Basically, I have to call that before every time. But we did get past. We were able to build a hut, I think. So that's good. Okay, so we were able to build a hut. Let's see, how much wood do we even have? We have to get the village, I guess, to be able to do this. And then we'll do after build hut just to check again. We can remove this later. And then we're basically going to have to do some more chopping wood. Okay, where's our... I think to get our logs, we're going to do like dash -vvv. There we go. Okay, so we had 11 wood. We used 10 for the hut. Now we have 1 wood, so that makes sense. But to stoke, we need, what is it? 5 wood? Wood to stoke, 3. So we just need a little bit more wood. We're so close. So close. Oops. So let's stoke one more time. One more time. We need to stoke. So do this. 4 days. And so now, ideally, we should have enough. We should have enough wood. Perfect. So wood 15, wood 5. We have enough wood, but we're getting another error, which is interesting, that our fire is now too old to stoke. And the reason is because you have to stoke within 3 days. And right now, we're doing it within 4 days. And actually, this could potentially cause a problem in the game too, because that means people could do all this chopping and not be able to stoke. So I think in some ways that's just like bad luck. Like you actually what it is that early in the game, you probably don't want to create a hut. Because a hut costs 10 wood and it's kind of too early to waste your wood on that. So I might even have to do something where it's like, I don't let them build huts until after a full cycle, like after they've gotten through a cycle or not. That might be something we have to do. For now, what we could do is we could wait to build the hut. I mean, we might actually have to do that in the test, is like wait to build the hut, have them stoke, and then chop some more wood. Just keep chopping. We need more wood. This I could see this making our tests kind of challenging in the future. We could create like some, it's not a terrible idea. Like we could create some like cheat functions that only the test user can call to basically just give them like a ton of resources. And then we could use that in our tests. At least that we could like, in some ways that's dangerous because then we're not testing the real state of the game. We're like creating up one, but that could be pretty useful for just like later states where it's like we just want to test very simply like what happens if you have a certain amount of resources and you're doing something. That might be smart to do. Yeah, so for now, what we're going to do is we're going to wait to build our hut. We're going to stoke. Probably do some, this is end up going to be a pretty long test. We're going to build the hut later. And we don't need this yet. could do some of this stuff down here. Probably should make this number a constant at some point. Okay, so now when we do our Stoke, we should be good. Let's move this as well. Down there. Kind of just want to see that we can Stoke successfully. How is everyone doing? Okay. 0 does not equal 2. Test Stoke villagers updated. So where are we testing that? Right here. So yeah, we have 0 villagers, which makes sense. So let's go ahead and remove this down here. We're going to have like another one of these. See if we can actually add villagers later. Okay, but we were able to Stoke. And how much wood did we have? We had 11 wood left. Then we Stoke, and that should take 3 wood. And so we're left with 8 wood, and we need to then be able to build. So we get some more wood. This is just getting a little messy now. See how much, yeah, we'll see how much wood we have after we do that, and then we'll see if we can build our huts. And then we'll see, we'll have to Stoke again. And hopefully when we Stoke then, we have enough wood as well. So we might have to gather some more wood also. So we'll see what happens, basically. All right, so 1 does not equal 5. I think we're failing here. So we have 1 food. That's all we have? That's all the food we have? We need more food. All right, let's go ahead and gather some more food here. Let's see how much food we have now. Okay, we got 4 food now. So that's good. That's good for a test. So what we can do, let's just say we have 4 just to make sure. Then we should be able to go through all this stuff and see what happens. Okay. I think we're still failing. That's somewhere a little higher. Our score is 9. We hard coded it to 3. I don't really care to test this right now, so let's just get rid of that. I can see where at some point I might need to have like a faster pipeline for getting making my tests quicker. Okay, so I think the issue now is we need to advance our time before we can chop wood again. So 4, 5. Now let's see how it works. This gets complex pretty quick. Okay, so we got more wood. We got 12 wood. But we don't have enough wood to stoke. So we'll have to do this again. Chop wood, chop wood. Six days, chop wood, chop wood. We really want to be able to build the hut before we stoke so we can actually see us get some villagers. We want some villagers up in here. It's what we need. It's what we want. Ooh, we've got 1 wood there. So we're not. Oh. Did it work? Okay, it worked. Oh yeah, so here we have 1 wood left after we did the stoke. And we do have 2 villagers. So that assert was correct. Which makes sense. That's what we were hoping for, that would be the amount. Man, we have lots of different cases to kind of test here. And to test that, it's kind of a lot of code. It's a lot of test code to even get this setup work right. So what I might do is make some kind of helper function that does all this, and then we can like add on to it for a couple different cases to see how that works. And there might be even some things we can test within this as well. But yeah, I kind of, so much code just to, we're just trying to stoke the fire. Got to chop so much wood. 4 days, 5 days, 6 days. But this does kind of show the strategy that's going to be happening here in this game, where you've got to kind of keep track of your resources, know that you have enough wood to stoke the fire, and not use up that wood. You always got to be saving that wood, which kind of shows that we need a way, almost like a safety, like a safer way to fail. Like, yeah, it's like it's almost like you need because right now, like if you don't stoke the fire, I think your village can like die, which is kind of a harsh ending. So you kind of need like a safer way to like let you get back up on your feet and kind of learn the hard way, I guess, without hurting yourself too much. Or maybe just for testing this, I should create kind of that cheat function, if you will, where maybe as the owner, I could just like give someone food and stuff and resources. But the problem with that, though, is that once that actually goes onto the blockchain, that just kind of looks like a bad function. Like that's too much power to have to just like give people whatever they want. So I don't know the best way to add that without it. I want it just to be there for testing, basically. I don't want it to be there all the time. So yeah, not sure the best way to do that, because there's definitely some extra testing. It could be something where it's like I just put it in my own dev workspace and then it's like removed somehow when it's built. Yeah, not quite sure. So what else do we want to test here, I guess, is a good question. So we have some other cases, like if they don't have enough food and they already have villagers, we then want to test, like, can you remove villagers? We need to test, like, you can only set villagers to 0, so you're not losing too many. All of those are things that we need to kind of get working here, I guess. Let's remove this because this is not, comment is not necessary. But this is pretty cool now that you can add villagers and you can remove villagers when you're building your huts. Yeah, the function could kind of look like a only owner, something like this, and then we just like set a village to a specific number of things. It could even be something I just manually am adding and deleting whenever I actually build the real contracts. It could even be just something that's nice to have right now, and then once we've done enough testing, we kind of just like remove it. I don't know. But yeah, it's definitely kind of a lot to write all this in the test. Trying to think if there's a way I could add a modifier that's only for testing in a test environment or something. It could be something. It could be, this could be interesting. Maybe it's an extra facet that we add that's, we only add the function. We basically, in our deploy script, we only add the facet that's like a testing facet of some sort, and we only add that facet if we're like in testing environment. Because I should be able to have a check for that. Maybe that's something we can add later too. But I think something like that is possible in this script. So we have like our helper config. We could have like a check for what chain ID we're on. So if we're on our testing chain ID, I could have that. I think that would be nice because then it's like not even on the smart contracts. Yeah. Well, maybe this is a good place to stop because we figured out some stuff. We got some tests working. I will kind of keep working on some of that. And we kind of talked through this App Store review issues, and I have more to figure out there. There's a lot of things to figure out, but it's good. That's what makes this journey kind of fun. So thanks for joining me along the way, and I think I will keep doing this because it is good. Just keep me accountable, keep building, keep making progress. I think it'd be better if I had like some highlight videos of some sort that just made this more easy for people to follow along because live stream's kind of long. So if you have any thoughts on that, reach out, let me know. If you'd like to see like some like smaller short form videos. Otherwise we just hit an hour. So we've been doing this for an hour. So that's a pretty good place to stop.